For the second time in 3 days, the Atlantic Sharks girls basketball team will take to their home court at the Shark Tank. Tonight looking to rebound from a setback on Wednesday. Today, after 5 straight games against some of Central Florida's best teams, the Sharks return to local competition as they welcomed in the Pine Ridge High School Panthers from just up the road in Deltona, Florida. Hello and a very warm welcome to tonight's broadcast of Atlantic High School Athletics on MJT Sports Productions. My name is Michael Torello. Thank you so much for joining me to wrap up your work week right here live from courtside at the Shark Tank. Once again, as with Wednesday's game, this was supposed to be the front end of a doubleheader, with the Atlantic boys team also slated to face Pine Ridge later this evening. However, due to COVID-19 protocol, that game will be rescheduled, time and date to be determined. Now, with all the preamble out of the way, let's discuss tonight's matchup. The Lady Sharks come in with a record of 5-3 after going 2-1 over the holiday break, and then falling to Potter's House Christian Lions from Jacksonville on Wednesday night, 51-41. Despite leading by 6 points at the halftime break, with strong first-half performances by Kiana Bean and Tristan O'Berry, the Lions were able to solve the Atlantic full-court press in the second half. Potter's House scored 24 points in the third quarter and held on late to eventually win by 10. The more pressing issue at the moment for Atlantic are the myriad of injuries on the roster. The Sharks missed the 11.5 points per game of Lindsay St. Jean, as well as the Isaac sisters Kyra and Kylie on Wednesday. Also, Yeshaya Yisrael and Kiana Bean left that game in the fourth quarter with leg injuries, and Bean did not return to the floor. I spoke to Sharks head coach George Butts before the game to learn more about the state of the team and to preview tonight's matchup against Pine Ridge. I'm here with Atlantic High School head coach George Butts before less than 48 hours between your last game and now, as you take on the Pine Ridge Panthers in your second game of 2021. Coach, what's the recovery time like when you have so little time to prepare for a new team?
Well, the good thing about playing the next game is you can get back and start and give you a chance to come out and recover from that. And a game we thought we should have won, it didn't come our way, but hopefully tonight we can pick it back up again.
Yeah, on that note, 3 good quarters on Wednesday night against Potter's House. The third got away from you a little bit, and in the end you weren't able to recover. Thoughts on that game?
Right, that's what we tell the girls. They got to learn to finish the game, finish what they started, and we didn't, and they end up taking the game. So that hurt us, and by not having Lindsay St. Jean, too, was big, not having the shooter there that we needed.
On that note, a couple of players out with injuries on Wednesday, the Isaacs and Lindsay St. Jean. And, of course, we had 2 players temporarily go to the bench. Kiana Bean and Jeshai Israel went to the bench with leg injuries in the fourth quarter yesterday. Updates on how they're doing?
They're doing well and ready to go.
Thank you so much. This is probably statistically one of the best defensive teams you guys have faced this year. They hold opponents to under 35 points per game usually. So what is your offensive mindset going to be coming into tonight?
Plan to not allow them to do that tonight.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Good luck.
All right.
The Pine Ridge Panthers come into tonight's game with a record of 2-7 and are looking for their first road win of the season tonight. However, their slow start in recent years, the Panthers have made a habit of starting seasons slowly and coming on strong towards the end, including a run to the district semifinals a year ago. And Coach Haley Weers believes that an upset tonight against the Sharks can kickstart a similar run this season, with 4 winnable games on the horizon for Pine Ridge in the month of January.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Now let's head to PA announcer and let's get the starting lineups, the national anthem, and let's get to the game.
Intergalactic events are an extension of the classroom, and that lessons are best learned with proper respect and support to all. Please let your sportsmanship show as you watch this evening's game. Please stand as we honor America with our national anthem. Can you see by the dawn? And now for the starting lineups for tonight's game. For Pine Ridge, we have number 3, Haley Edwards. Number 21, Bryce Simmons. Number 30, Tia Binns. Number 32, Kaylee Roman. And number 11, Leilani Green. And tonight's starting lineups for your Atlantic Sharks. Number 21, senior, Alexia Brooks. Number 2, senior, Aliana Jones. Number 3, sophomore, Yeshaya Israel. Number 4, sophomore, Tristan O'Berry. Number 23, junior, Kiki B.
So there are your starting lineups for tonight's game. I'll run them through you one more time for Pine Ridge. It's Haley Edwards, Leilani Green, Bryce Simmons, Tia Binns, and Kaylee Roman. And for the Atlantic Sharks, Alexia Brooks gets her second straight start. Kiana Bean is in there as well. Tristan O'Berry, Yeshaya Israel, and Aliana Jones round out the Atlantic starting 5. Just a bit of a delay here as the referees get set for the game. I'll run you quickly through tonight's keys for the game, presented by MJT Sports Productions. For Atlantic, they got to find scoring off the bench as regular starters struggle with injury, although we did hear Coach Butts say that Lindsay St. Jean is back. She is starting on the bench tonight. Younger players will see more playing time, and how they perform could dictate the result of tonight's game. And for Pine Ridge, they got to make this a low-scoring game. I mentioned in the interview, they've struggled offensively this season, the Panthers. They average 25 points a game. They got to keep this one low-scoring. But now, the players are ready, the coaches are ready, the referees are ready, the fans are certainly ready. Without further ado, let's play basketball. Pine Ridge wins the tip. They go left to right in this first half of play into the lane, and the layup is no good and rebounded by the Sharks. First board pulled down by Aliana Jones. Here's Kiana Bean quickly into the front court, switches to the left-hand top of the circle. Now to Alexia Brooks, left wing, back to the top for Yisrael. Around to O'Berry. O'Berry, long 2 from the right-hand wing, no good. Offensive rebound by Alexia Brooks. Brooks dribbles twice under the basket, has her layup blocked, and the rebound goes to Pine Ridge. Controlling for Pine Ridge is Kaylee Roman as she tries to break the full-court press of Atlantic. Now getting a pick and getting into the front court is Simmons. Bree Simmons stops up in front of the Atlantic bench, then dribbles back to center. She stands on the Atlantic logo at midcourt, guarded by Yisrael. Driving the lane, putting up a wild layup, but will not go, is Simmons, and Atlantic comes down with another rebound. Scoreless game, 1 minute gone by. Jones, bounce pass underneath the basket. Baseline layup is no good from O'Berry. Rebound fought for and won by Brooks, and the ball comes back out to Yisrael, who'll slow it down. Long pass into the right-hand corner, baseline run, layup good from Tristan O'Berry. And the Sharks are on the board, 1 minute and 10 seconds gone, 6:50 to play in the first quarter. Full court press comes again for the Sharks. Pine Ridge tries to break the press, and they do so. They turn it over at midcourt into the hands of Yeshaya Israel. Back to Kiana Bean. Kiana Bean, left-hand drive into the lane, gets around a double team, and her layup is no good. The rebound goes out of bounds at last touch by Pine Ridge, who it will be Atlantic basketball. Sharks in their all-white home uniforms tonight, black and teal trim, teal numbers trimmed in black. Ball goes into the right-hand wing. It's through the hands of Yeshaya Israel and out of bounds. It'll be Pine Ridge basketball. The Panthers are wearing what I have affectionately dubbed seafoam green with gold and black trim, gold numbers, black outline, Pine Ridge in black letters across the front. The ball comes in to Haley Edwards. Edwards guarded in her own half of the floor by O'Berry. Bounce pass across the timeline to Haley Roman. Roman guarded out high by O'Berry. Works toward the Sharks bench to the right-hand side. Quick ball movement out high and a long 3 on the way from Edwards. It is no good. Fighting for the rebound is Tia Binns. The ball goes out of play, and it will be Pine Ridge basketball, last touched by Aliana Jones. Pine Ridge to inbound under the basket that they attacked. To listeners right in this first half. Ball goes underneath the basket on the inbounds pass and a foul as the layup was going up. Putting up the layup was Simmons, and she'll go to the line. And they're going to call Aliana Jones with her first. One of my keys to the game last night, or Wednesday rather, against Potter's House was don't get in foul trouble for the Sharks. And they stayed out of foul trouble in that game, nobody getting more than 3. But not a good sign as the first free throw from Simmons is up and missed. But not a good sign that their key post player, Aliana Jones, for the Sharks, has one foul already, just a minute and 20 seconds in. Second free throw is up and good. 2-1, Sharks lead, 6:12 to go in the first quarter. Ball comes into Kiana Bean. She dribbles across the timeline, gets to the top of the key, hands the ball to Alexia Brooks. Ball shoveled underneath the basket to Jones, and her shot is blocked as she tried to lay it up. Trying to dribble out of trouble and failing to is Edwards. And looks like a foul is going to be called off the ball. It's going to go against Bri Simmons, her first. So now both post players have a foul. The ball comes in, Atlantic attacks the basket to listeners left. Standing at the top of the key, closely guarded by Simmons, is O'Berry. O'Berry dribbles to the right-hand baseline, throws it back to the top for Bean. Bean drives the lane, through contact, her layup is no good, but she'll go to the line. And they're gonna catch Roman for her first foul, so 2 Pine Ridge Panthers into the book on the same possession. And Kiana Bean heads to the line. She shooting 73% from the charity stripe this season. First shot on the way, too strong, and it rims out. And into the ball game comes Lindsay St. Jean. St. Jean will replace Alexia Brooks, and big moment for the Sharks as they definitely missed St. Jean's 11 points per game and 3-point accuracy, shooting 38% from beyond the arc this season. Second of 2 free throws coming for Kiana Bean. She missed the first one. Sharks lead 2-1, 5:47 to go first quarter. It is up and good, so it's 3-1 Sharks. Here we go, full court press again from the Sharks, trying to turn the Panthers over. Inbounding the ball is Bree Simmons. I was just informed that's how you pronounce it, so apologies to Bree. Double team trap after Simmons gets the ball back from Edwards, throws it ahead to Edwards across the timeline. Edwards tried to rifle it under the basket, and it is a completed pass through a deflection. The ball comes back to Edwards, and she hits a long 2, so it's 3-3 for the right-hand wing. Kind of a interesting possession there. Quickly underneath the basket, it goes to Tristan O'Berry, who lays it in. That was a very nice backdoor cutting pass by Bean to O'Berry, and a timeout is called. And it's going to be a 30-second timeout for Pine Ridge, so I can tell you that as the official healthcare provider of Volusia County Schools, Advent Health is committed to providing championship caliber care. With 4 hospitals, 4 urgent care centers, and 6 sports medicine and rehab locations across Volusia County, Advent Health is here to keep your student athlete off the sidelines and get them back in the game. Visit adventhealth.com to learn more. Atlantic Sharks 5, Pine Ridge Panthers 3, 5 minutes, 23 seconds to go here in this low-scoring first quarter, which is exactly how Pine Ridge wants it. Full court press comes out again from the Sharks. Failed to turn them over last time, and Pine Ridge scored. Long inbounds pass is intercepted by Aliana Jones. Jones bounce pass out of the basket to Yisrael, and she gets the ball knocked away from her as she was going up for a layup. No foul called, but it will be the Sharks to inbound from underneath the basket that they attack to listeners left. 5:19 to play. 2-point lead for the Sharks. Ball goes out high, Yisrael. Yisrael guarded by Edwards. Bounce pass to the right-hand corner for St. Jean. St. Jean back to Jones. It cycles around to the left-hand corner for Bean. Bean tries a 3. It is good from Kiana Bean. 5 minutes to play, 8-3 Sharks. Another long inbounds pass finds the hands of Bree Simmons. Simmons runs the floor, draws the foul from Yeshaya Israel as she was going to put up the layup, and she will go to the line to shoot 2. And Israel now draws her first foul. And Coach Butts draws Yeshaya aside to talk to her for a second. Second trip to the free throw line for Bree Simmons. 1 of 2 her first time up, but she misses the first one of the 2-shot penalty. 4:59 to play in the first quarter. It's still 8-3 Sharks after the 3 from Kiana Bean on the previous possession. Simmons into her windup. The second free throw is all the way and good, so she is 2 of 4 from the stripe now, and it's 8-4 Sharks. Kiana Bean races across the midcourt stripe. Gets it back from St. Jean, top of the circle, guarded closely. Now back to St. Jean. Ball comes to the right-hand corner for O'Berry. O'Berry guarded closely by Roman. And now Bean will slow it down, walk back to the logo, at midcourt. 4:39 to play first quarter. St. Jean out high, right corner Yisrael underneath the basket for Jones. The ball skips away from her but comes to O'Berry. O'Berry baseline, back to Jones, out high, underneath the basket to Yisrael. Yisrael in the paint, tries to go through 3 Pine Ridge players, and she's gonna get a foul called as she tried a scooping reverse layup. A little bit speculative on the shot selection, but if you get the foul, you go to the line, and that'll be the second on Kaylee Roman here in the first quarter. First of 2 free throws coming and missed for Yeshaya Yisrael. Yisrael only 33% from the free throw line, so not fantastic. Roman, who has collected 2 fouls quickly for Pine Ridge, comes out of the game, and in comes Jade DaCosta for the first time. The second one is up and no good, so missing them both is Yisrael. And looking to break the press is Pine Ridge, and they do. Across the timeline with Leilani Green, but she coughs at the basketball as she was driving. It was picked, Jones picked her pocket, long pass ahead to Bean, rifle to the right-hand corner, 3 on the way and short by Yisrael. The rebound goes to Pine Ridge into the hands of Simmons. Bree Simmons, the Sharks will back off and play half-court defense. Pass to the top of the key, intended for Binns, is almost picked off, but she gets it around to the right-hand wing for Edwards. Binns draws a triple team, finds Simmons, who's open underneath, and she is clattered to the floor by Lindsay St. Jean as she went up for a layup. And that is the first on Lindsay St. Jean. So now 3 different Sharks in the book, all for the exact same foul with a right-hand swipe of a layup. Jones, Yisrael, and St. Jean. And to the line for the 3rd time in this first quarter is Bree Simmons. And it's no good, as for the 3rd straight time, she misses the first end of her 2-shot penalty. Into the game for the first time comes Kyla Filippi. She replaces Kiana Bean. Bean heads to the bench, still nursing an ankle injury that she picked up in the 4th quarter of Wednesday's game, so we probably will see Kiana sparingly tonight. Second free throw on the way and good, so she has gone 1 of 2 3 straight times. She has 3 of the 5 points for Pine Ridge, all from the penalty stripe, and it's 8-5 Sharks. Into the front court goes Jones. Bounce pass right-hand wing, Yisrael, her 3 is no good. Here comes back to St. Jean, and St. Jean travels with the basketball before attempting a 3. It was off the mark anyway. And Pine Ridge will inbound in front of their own bench. Sharks go full court press again. Haley Edwards will be the inbounder. She is guarded by Yisrael on the end line. Edwards looking for a bounce pass. She finds it, and the ball goes across the timeline, but into the hands of Aliana Jones, and a pass intended for Binns. Jones into the corner. O'Berry drives the baseline. Kicks it to the top. Filippi cycles it around to the right-hand wing. Yisrael knocks down a triple. Yeshaya Yisrael, they called it a long 2. Yeshaya Yisrael, and then a long pass on the outlet from Pine Ridge is out of bounds into the Sharks bench. Into the game for the first time for Pine Ridge comes Angela Barnes, as well as Kamari Brown will replace Aliana Jones. So Sharks to inbound under the basket that they attack. The listeners left, they lead 10-5, 3:15 to play first quarter. Filippi the gunner. Filippi to St. Jean to the left-hand corner. Back to the top for Yisrael. Yisrael was bumped off the ball, but it came straight to O'Berry, who tries a 3 and almost makes it. Brown fighting for the rebound, puts up an offensive rebound layup, no good. And then Brown fouls Leilani Green after she got the rebound. Ball comes in for the Panthers to Leilani Green. Leilani guarded by Filippi, races down the right-hand sideline and is going to be tied up under the basket. And the ball comes to Filippi. Nice work by Brown to get the ball away from Filippi. And then a whistle as Filippi tried to pass the ball away. She was double-teamed in the corner in front of the Sharks bench, away to listeners' right. And she has remained down. And they're going to call Bree Simmons for a off-the-ball foul. which she's, Kyler Filippi still down. So with 2:53 to play first quarter, it's 10-5 Sharks over the Panthers. We'll take a short break and be right back. This is MJT Sports Productions broadcast of Atlantic Sharks basketball. Back at the Shark Tank, Atlantic Sharks girls basketball leads Pine Ridge 10-5, 2:50 to play first quarter. Ball comes into Kiana Bean, who's just checked back in for the injured Filippi. Bean immediately steps into a transition three, and it's no good. And the rebound is going to go out of bounds, ball to Pine Ridge after Kamari Brown couldn't secure the rebound. Again, the full court press from Atlantic. A long pass is intercepted by Bean at the half court line. It was intended for Roman. Bean, pass under the basket for Brooks, who's just checked back in. Brooks gets the bucket to drop with the two-handed shove layup. Her first points of the night, and another timeout called by Pine Ridge. Want to get your business on the air in front of the Atlantic fans? If you would like to advertise via MJT Sports Productions, the official play-by-play internet radio partner of Atlantic High School, as a sponsor of Atlantic Athletics, please email AHS Athletic Director Tron Griffin at tdgriffi@volusia.k12.fl.us. That's tdgriffi@volusia.k12.fl.us. And your business could be swimming with the Sharks. Score 12-5 Sharks over the Pine Ridge Panthers. Panthers only average about 25.5 points per game this season. Sharks coming in averaging 47. And there is 2:36 to play in a slow-paced first quarter. A lot of fouls, 4 on each team. And Pine Ridge will inbound onto the basket wearing their seafoam green with gold and black to listeners left. They get the ball into Roman. Roman passes it ahead to, to DaCosta. DaCosta gets it back to Roman. She barges her way across the timeline against Bean. Then she hands it off to Binns. Binns to Edwards, and Edwards back to Roman, still standing right near the half-court line. Guarded by Bean. 32 on 23, and a foul is going to be called off the ball against Bean. That'll be Bean's first. And Kaylee Roman will inbound right in front of the scorer's table, slightly to listeners' right. The ball goes in, and a foul is going to be called as the ball was intended for Jade DaCosta. And it's going to be on Alexia Brooks. So the Sharks quickly have 6 fouls in this first quarter. And we'll do it again. Roman to inbound the ball right in front of the scorer's table. She gets it in to DaCosta and then gets it back, standing on the Atlantic logo at midcourt. Works her way around. Bean gets a pick, rolls to the basket, to the right with the right hand, and then she gets the ball knocked away from her before she can put up the layup, but it will be Pine Ridge to inbound under the basket. Roman the gunner again. To the right-hand corner it goes, now gets it back from Binns. She tries a floater on the baseline. It won't go. Tying up underneath the basket. It will be a jump ball. Possession arrow favors Pine Ridge, favors Atlantic. 2 minutes, 2 seconds to play first quarter. 12-5 Sharks over the Pine Ridge Panthers. Right-hand wing. Quick three on the way by Yisrael. Knocks it down. Yeshaya Yisrael up to 5 points to lead all scorers. Ball comes into Kaylee Roman. Full court press comes again. Edwards lobs it ahead, and nobody's there to meet it for Pine Ridge. It's into the hands of Yisrael. Yisrael runs the floor. Timeline 1:57. Into the left-hand wing. Bean, a transition three. It is good! Kiana Bean on the scoreboard. Roman with the basketball for Pine Ridge. Guarded by Kiana Bean. She stops up just on the logo, then gets it ahead to Angela Barnes. Barnes stands top of the key, guarded by Yisrael, and then flares it back up high to Edwards. Edwards tried to bounce past it underneath the basket. It does eventually come to DaCosta. DaCosta lays it up, and it's no good, and then a tie-up underneath the basket. Possession arrow to Pine Ridge. Jones and St. Jean check into the ball game. Brown and Brooks out for Atlantic. 18-5 as two quick threes have blown this lead to 13 points for the Sharks. Into the ball game is Leilani Green for Pine Ridge. That was what the stoppage was. She replaces Jade DaCosta. So Pine Ridge will inbound into the basket that they attack to listeners right. 1:07 to go first quarter. Mid-range jump shot off the inbounds pass is no good. Offensive rebound to Pine Ridge, and then traveling is Kaylee Roman before she could put a shot up. It was no good regardless. Tristan O'Berry takes her first rest of the game as freshman Vanessa Sprata checks in for Atlantic. Here is Kiana Bean across the timeline, under a minute to go first quarter. Wide open for three is Yisrael from the exact same spot she hit it before. It's no good. Bean rebounds underneath the basket. Her putback is no good. And the rebound comes to Edwards for Pine Ridge. And then the ball is off of the foot of Tia Binns as out under the baseline under the basket. Oh no, Pine Ridge still gets the basketball. I am very confused. Edwards, pass ahead to Roman. Roman runs the floor and gets a shot partially blocked on a left-hand layup by Jones, and it's no good. Yisrael, bounce pass Bean. Bean, left-hand wing. Under the basket, it comes to Jones. Bounce pass right-hand corner. St. Jean, St. Jean. Her three-pointer is no good, but she gets it back as Pine Ridge are trying to break the zone, and a pass goes wayward. Kiana Bean now into the lane, fighting through contact. Her layup is no good, but she will go to the line. That'll be Tia Binns' first for Pine Ridge. As the arena goes quiet for Kiana Bean's 2 free throws. First one up and good. 19-5 Sharks over Pine Ridge. 16 seconds to go first quarter. Bean toes the line into her windup, and it is good off the front iron and in. 20-5. Sharks over the Panthers. Full court press comes again. Long pass for Edwards is out of her hands and into the scorer's table. So it'll be Sharks ball inbounding right in front of the scorer's table. 10 seconds to go. Quickly to St. Jean, then Kiana Bean. Gets it back. Top of the key. Double team out high. Bounce pass to Jones. Long two. Right hand wing. Too strong. And the rebound comes to Yisrael. Another offensive board. St. Jean tries a three now at the buzzer and it misses it. So we go to the end of the first quarter. Atlantic Sharks 20. Pine Ridge Panthers 5. We'll take a short break. We'll take a short break and be right back. This is Atlantic Sharks girls basketball on MJT Sports Productions. Stay with us. Live from courtside here at the Shark Tank. Michael Torello here with you for MJT Sports Productions coverage of Atlantic Sharks girls basketball. Sharks out to a strong start. After one, they lead 20-5 against the Pine Ridge Panthers, including 9 points by Kiana Bean. And the Sharks will start with the ball here in the second quarter. Bean, standing on the half-court line across from the scorer's table, gets it into Jones, then gets it back. Standing on the Atlantic logo, Sharks in their white home uniforms, teal and black trim. Now Lindsay St. Jean, pounds pass under the basket. Yeshaya Yisrael puts it up, no good. Calls for a foul from the Atlantic bench, are not heeded by the referees, and Pine Ridge comes away with it, but still trapped in the corner is Simmons. Simmons tries to dribble out of it and gets the ball poked away by Tristan O'Berry out of bounds, but it will be Pine Ridge to inbound.
Deny.
Edwards to throw the ball in right in front of the scorer's table, right at midcourt, guarded by Kiana Bean. Edwards throws it down the baseline, gets it to Sims, or to Binns rather, and then the ball is poked away from Bree Simmons. Nice work by Yeshaya Israel. In transition, she throws the ball ahead to Kiana Bean, and Bean goes to the lane and gets fouled. It looks like it's going to be on Edwards as she is complaining loudly, but first to the referee and her coach. First foul on Haley Edwards for Pine Ridge. She has the only bucket for the Panthers from the floor. The other 3 points were scored from the free throw line by Bree Simmons. So another trip to the free throw line, the third in this game for Kiana Bean. First of 2 shots is up and good.
Hey, pick up, full. Kiki in the back. Everybody else, don't cover the ball.
Bean once again. 7:21 to go in the first half. Into her windup. It is up and it is good, so she's hit them both 2 straight trips to the charity stripe. A long out-bounce pass finds Williams, who is left all alone behind the full court press. Williams into the paint. A layup is good, and then the rebound is fought for by O'Berry and Simmons, and a foul is going to be called on O'Berry. So that'll be Tristan's first. 7 Sharks with 1 foul here in the first half. 1 and 1 coming, as that's the 7th foul on the Sharks. Again at the line, it's Bree Simmons, who's done the most damage so far. Front end of a 1 and 1 is good. And that's the first time she has hit, that's the first time she has hit the front end of a 2-shot penalty. On the way is the second shot. It is good. So now Simmons leads the Panthers with 5 of the 7 points they've got, as it's Sharks leading 22-7. A long pass ahead under the basket from Bean to Israel is tapped away by Simmons, and it'll be Sharks to inbound under the basket that they attack to listeners left. 7:15 to play. First half, 22-7, Sharks over the Panthers. Underneath the basket, it goes to Jones. Right-hand hook shot is no good. Gets her own miss. Spinning in the lane, now triple teamed. Gets the ball outside to Bean. Bean drives the lane, gets past one, and finishes with the right hand. Kiana Bean has brought her dancing shoes tonight. 24-7. The ball comes out to Roman. Her pass into the middle intended for Simmons is no good, but picking up the pieces is Simmons. But then a foul is going to be called off the ball. No, they're going to call an illegal screen off the ball on Simmons. No, excuse me, on Roman. So Sharks will have possession again. Filippi checks in for the Sharks, replacing Lindsay St. Jean. The ball comes into Yisrael. Yisrael drives the lane through contact, falls to the ground, no foul, and the ball goes out of bounds at the baseline. It was tapped out by Tia Bin, so it will be Sharks basketball. Bean, bounce pass, right-hand corner on the inbounds pass. It cycles all the way up top, and then the ball goes behind Yisrael on a pass, but fortunately straight to Kiana Bean. Underneath the basket, it goes to Jones. Left-hand layup is in from Aliana Jones. Long pass out of the inbounds is good, and breaking the contain now is Binns. Binns floats it underneath the basket to Simmons. Simmons' layup is too strong, no good, getting her own miss. Throwing it back up as she crashed to the ground. There's not going to be a foul. There was an air ball as the ball went into the boards behind the basket. It'll be the Sharks to inbound. Filippi dribbles it up the floor. She takes the point away from Kiana Bean. Filippi. Right side, Jones. Filippi drives the lane, then gets it back from Jones. Her layup is no good, but it comes right to Yisrael, and Yisrael travels. And it'll be Pine Ridge basketball. 6 minutes, 5 seconds to play in the first half. 26-7, almost a 20-point advantage for Atlantic. Nice move in open space to get free, and the ball comes to Williams and banks it in from 3. Or excuse me, Haley Edwards banks it in from 3. It was a nifty move in space by Tia Binns, and then Edwards was wide open for 3, and she banked it in. Betts back with the Sharks now. Yeshaya Yisrael, right-hand corner. Bounce pass underneath the basket to O'Berry. Her shot is blocked, and then it came back off her shoulder and out of play, so it'll be Pine Ridge basketball. Vanessa Sprada checks back in. She replaces Yisrael. 5:36 to play. In the first half, 26-10, Atlantic, the advantage over Pine Ridge. Roman gets the ball back off the inbounds pass, plays it to Leilani Green. Green tied up with Bean, loses the ball. It's a scramble right in front of the scorer's table. Timeout called by Pine Ridge, as they can all pick themselves up, head to the bench, and a 30-second timeout is called. Advent Health is here for you and with you during every tip-off, every timeout, and every season to support you physically, mentally, and spiritually in this game called life. Advent Health is on your team. They're your biggest fan, and they're here to help you feel whole. Advent Health is a proud supporter of Volusia County School Athletics. Visit adventhealth.com to learn more. Kiana Bean leads all scorers with 13 of her team's 26 points. Then we've got Yisrael with 5, O'Berry with 4, Jones with 2, and Brooks with 2. That's the 26 for the Sharks. The only player who scored from the floor for Pine Ridge is Haley Edwards. She's got 5. And then the other 5 were scored by Bree Simmons, who had got them at the free throw line. Ball tapped away from Roman off the inbounds pass, but she gathers it across the timeline. Here comes Simmons. Simmons drives the lane. Left-hand layup is good. And that's Simmons' first contribution for the floor tonight, after putting in 5 points from the free throw line. Filippi crossed the timeline. 26-12, Sharks lead, 4:56 to go in the first half. Bean ducks under Edwards, drives the lane into a double team, puts up a tough layup. It is good. It hung on the rim for about 5 seconds and then dropped in. 28-12, Sharks over the Panthers. Short inbounds pass to DaCosta. DaCosta was guarded closely by Tristan O'Berry. Whistles blow as O'Berry tapped the ball out of bounds in front of the Pine Ridge bench. Ball comes into Roman, and it's cycled around across the timeline into the hands of Kiana Bean, who intercepted the pass for Simmons. Bean, Euro step, bounce pass underneath the basket is knocked away. It was intended for Filippi. It was put out of bounds by Roman. It'll be Atlantic to inbound under the basket that they attack to listeners left. The ball comes into the corner, a 3 on the way, and no good from Filippi. And then a travel as trying to leave the zone was Kaylee Roman, so the Sharks will continue the offensive pressure. Yeshaya Yisrael checks back in. She replaces Tristan O'Berry, as O'Berry jogs to the bench. It comes into Sprada. Sprada's 3 too strong. Rebound Filippi. Her putback is no good, and it's tapped out of bounds once again by Kaylee Roman, and the Sharks will have it underneath the basket again. Short stoppage in play, so Angela Barnes can check in for Pine Ridge. She replaces Haley Edwards. In it comes to Bean. Bean tries a 3 left-hand wing. It's too short. A long rebound under the baseline. Double teamed after picking it up is Kaylee Roman. She throws the ball off of Filippi and out of bounds, so Pine Ridge will inbound underneath the basket. 2 listeners left. Again, full court press from the Sharks. The ball comes into Binns and then back to Roman. Roman running the floor against Filippi. Long pass ahead to Barnes is complete, but now Barnes is double teamed just in front of the scorer's table. The ball goes underneath the basket, and a travel as putting the ball up and in was DaCosta, but it will not count. And lucky it is, too, because the backside of Atlantic's defense went to sleep there a little bit. And DaCosta was wide open. Filippi hands it left side, Yisrael. Yisrael walks back to the top to Sprada, thought about a 3, thinks better of it, and then cycles around to the left-hand corner to Jones. Jones underneath the basket intended for Bean. It's picked off. And a long pass ahead towards Simmons. Simmons runs the floor, gets to the lane, puts it up with the left hand, no good. And a rebound goes to Yeshaya Yisrael. Yisrael with the left hand using her pace to get away from everybody into the front court. She'll slow it down, pitch it to the left-hand corner. Jones tries a long 2, it's too strong. Bounce pass, bounced back off the iron, and it's taken by Sprada. Sprada to Jones. Jones thought about a 3, but then pitches it underneath the basket. Back to Sprada. Sprada getting tied up with 2 Pine Ridge Panthers. It's a jump ball, and Pine Ridge has the possession arrow. Filippi and Sprada check out. St. Jean and Brown come in. Oh, no, and Brown comes in for Jones. So 3 changes as O'Berry comes back in for Sprada. Pine Ridge makes no changes. Their pass into Simmons is good. Simmons stands top of the defensive key and gets it back from Roman. Now Roman drives, kicks it underneath the basket to Binns. Her layup is too strong, but an offensive rebound for Pine Ridge, and then traveling under the basket once again is Jade DaCosta. Kiana Bean walks across the timeline. 3 minutes, 10 seconds to play in the first half. 28-12, Sharks lead the Pine Ridge Panthers. Bean steps into a 3 as nobody guarded her closely and hits it. I am running out of room on my first quarter scoring table because Kiana Bean is all over the scoring charts tonight. Pine Ridge try and break contain with Simmons. They do so. Pass for Roman. Shoveled it to Binns under the basket. And then her shot is no good. 2 Pine Ridge Panthers clatter into each other, which means it's an odd man rush. St. Jean runs the floor and double dribbles before she can put the layup up and in. So traveling and double dribbling, just so fundamental errors on both teams are costing both the Panthers and the Sharks points so far in this first half. Pine Ridge once again tries to break the half-court press. And the ball goes behind the head of Roman on a pass from Simmons. And Haley Weirs, the Pine Ridge coach, is not very happy with that. It'll be Sharks to inbound in front of their own cheerleading section across from us here at the scorer's table on the far side. Ball comes in to Kiana Bean. Bean walks across the timeline. 2:22 to play first half. 31-12 the score. St. Jean left-hand wing, a 3. Good from Lindsay St. Jean. St. Jean announces her arrival with her first points of the game, and then a pass is tipped away by a diving Bean. It comes to the right-hand corner. A baseline jumper is no good from O'Berry, and the ball is out of bounds across the baseline. It will be Pine Ridge to inbound. Haley Edwards checks back in for the Panthers. She replaces Simmons. .202 to play, 34-12. Sharks over the Panthers. Short into Edwards. Edwards guarded by her opposite number, Yisrael. Throws it to Roman, and then Roman shuffles it short, intended for Barnes, but tapped out of bounds by Bean, and Pine Ridge will inbound again right in front of the scorer's table at halfway. 1:56 to go. The ball comes into DaCosta. DaCosta forced back towards the half-court line, coughs up the basketball. Tristan O'Berry runs the floor, lays it in without contest. 6 points now in the first half for O'Berry. Long inbounds pass comes to Barnes. Barnes runs the floor, kicks it to the right-hand corner. 3 on the way, and it is no good from Edwards. She claims she got tapped on the arm by Yisrael, but no foul. Now Yisrael, bounce pass to Bean. Bean thought about stepping into a 3, but pitches it to the right-hand corner for O'Berry. Now gets it back after O'Berry drove halfway to the basket. Bean slows it down, guarded by DaCosta. Pitches it back to St. Jean. St. Jean ducks under a tackle and then fires it out for a 3 from Tristan O'Berry. Sharks have their shooting shoes on tonight. I'll get you the numbers at halftime, but they have been knocking them down from everywhere. 1:05 to go first half. And then another wayward pass intended for Roman is picked off by O'Berry. O'Berry runs the floor, lays it up, no good, but she gets fouled by Tia Binns. That'll be the second one on Tia Binns. Now 3 Pine Ridge Panthers with 2 fouls. That would be Simmons, Binns, and Roman. Edwards has 1. Those are the 7 fouls for Pine Ridge. And to the line for the first time tonight is O'Berry. Her first is no good, too strong. And into the ball game comes the tallest player on either team, 6'1" freshman Kylie Isaac, as she replaces Kiana Bean. 57 seconds left to play first quarter. Second of a 2-shot penalty coming from Tristan O'Berry. She missed the first one. This is her first trip to the line tonight. O'Berry, second one is short, and Pine Ridge takes it away. DaCosta dribbles the floor against Yisrael, and they're going to call a foul on Yisrael as she pushes DaCosta into the Sharks bench. That's the first foul. Sorry, that is the first time an Atlantic player has gotten 2 fouls in this game, as Yisrael picks up her second and heads to the bench, replaced by Filippi. 53 seconds left to go first half. At the line for a 1-and-1 is Jade DaCosta. Her first is good. And she is the third player to register on the scoring charts for Pine Ridge tonight, behind Edwards and Simmons. Tristan O'Barry comes to the bench, replaced for the first time tonight by Bailey Cameron. Second of 2 shots coming for DaCosta. It is banked in off the glass. So 39-14 the score. Sharks over the Panthers. Filippi to St. Jean. St. Jean drives to her right, kicks it to Filippi, back around to Cameron in the right-hand corner. Cameron is pressured into a double team, tries to throw it back to Filippi, and it's knocked out of bounds by Pine Ridge's Angela Barnes. So Filippi will play the ball in. It comes to the top of the key to St. Jean, and then Filippi gets it back right-hand wing. Filippi back to St. Jean, ducks under an arm swipe, and gets it back to Filippi to the right-hand corner, Cameron. Cameron again draws a double team, looking for an outlet pass, finds it to St. Jean out high. 24 seconds to play in the first half. Left-hand dribble drive, Filippi from the top of the lane. Good on the floater from 8 feet away. Kyla Filippi on the scoreboards now. And the Sharks have matched their entire offensive output from Wednesday's game. A long 3 is banked in from the scorer's table by Haley Edwards as time expires on the first half. Everybody in the building looked away because we thought it was just a last-second heave, but it was backed in. Your score at the half, 41-17 Sharks. We will take a 60-second break, be right back, run you through your halftime scores and figures. This is Atlantic Girls Basketball on MJT Sports Productions. Stay with us. Live from courtside here at the Shark Tank on the campus of Atlantic High School, you're listening to MJT Sports Productions broadcast of Atlantic Sharks girls basketball. Well, the Atlantic Sharks have brought the offense tonight. They have scored as many points in the first half as they did in the entire game on Wednesday in their loss to Potter's House Christian. Here are the numbers. They lead at the halftime break, 41-17 over the Pine Ridge Panthers. For Pine Ridge, their leading scorer is Haley Edwards. She has 8. Bree Simmons has 7, although 5 of those are from the free throw line. And Jade DaCosta has 2, both of those from the charity stripe as well. And the reason I was a little bit late in getting you this halftime report is I had to count all the points from the Atlantic side, which is a good thing when you're tuning into an MJT Sports Productions broadcast of Atlantic Athletics. Leading all scorers with 18 points is Kiana Bean. Remember, her season high is 14, so she has eclipsed it already in the first half. Already a season high for her. 9 points for Tristan O'Berry, 5 points for Yeshaya Yisrael, 3 for Lindsay St. Jean on one big three, and there was a big roar in the crowd when that went in, as she has been out with injury for a while, but it's good to have the sharpshooter back on the floor for Atlantic. And then a couple of players with 2. Aliana Jones had 2, Kyla Filippi had 2, and Alexia Brooks had 2. Sharks fans can't make it to the Shark Tank for Atlantic basketball games? MJT Sports Productions is the official play-by-play home of your Atlantic Sharks. Be sure to like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter, all at MJT Sports Productions, so you never miss a moment of the action. Let's go Sharks. We will take 5 minutes and then be back with the second half. Once again, your score live from the Shark Tank. It's Atlantic 41, Pine Ridge 17. You're listening to MJT Sports Productions broadcast of Atlantic Athletics. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to the Shark Tank live from courtside. This is Michael Torello here from MJT Sports Productions. We are just about to get set to start the second half between the Pine Ridge Panthers and the Atlantic Sharks. Sharks lead 41-17 after the first 16 minutes of action. Kiana Bean with 18 points in the first half, equaling the best first half by any player on the Sharks this season, equaling Lindsay St. Jean's 18 in their victory against Deltona on the 18th of December. Kiana Bean with the basketball gets stripped off the inbounds pass, but then a wayward pass from Roman gives the ball right back to Brooks. Brooks to Jones. Yisrael gets fouled as she was trying to split a double team at the free throw line, and that's the third foul on Bree Simmons. Sharks attacking the basket. The listeners left in this first half. Ball quickly comes out to Yisrael. Right-hand corner, a three off the top of the backboard, no good, and then batted into the crowd. Almost clocked somebody over there in the head, but thankfully nobody is hurt. It'll be Sharks to inbound. Once again, they attack the basket. The listeners right in this second half, wearing their all white, trimmed in black and teal. The ball comes in. Brooks to Jones out high, and then back to the midcourt stripe for Bean. Now Brooks steps into a three from the left-hand wing, no good. And the long rebound is grabbed by Yisrael. Yisrael throws it to Brooks. Brooks a long three. This time she hits it. Alexia Brooks first on the scoreboard in the second half. Nice offensive possession for the Sharks. Got 3 looks at a shot there. Sharks for the first time tonight drop into a half-court offense. Do not full-court press. Another long three on the way and no good from Haley Edwards. She hit 2 in the first half from the moon, banked them in. Now Bean off the rebound into the front court. Floats it to the left-hand corner. A long three on the way, and it's no good, in and out. It almost rattled home for Tristan O'Berry. Now trying to break the pressure are Pine Ridge. The ball is dove on, but traveling as she dove on it was Tristan O'Berry. The ball rolled across the midcourt line, and Leilani Green went to pick it up, but O'Berry traveled as she dove on the ball. Ball comes in to Kaylee Roman, and the Pine Ridge Panthers attack the basket. The listeners left in the second half wearing their sea green, trimmed in black and gold, gold numbers, black trim. Left-hand wing, here's Simmons. Simmons drives, stopped up by Bean. A long three from the left-hand corner by Edwards is no good, and the ball is out of bounds, tapped last by Alexia Brooks. It'll still be Pine Ridge basketball. The ball comes into Roman, left-hand corner, then cycles back to the top for Simmons. Simmons steps into a three, got it partially blocked. And they're gonna say that Jones didn't touch it. All right, so it will be Sharks to inbound. The ball comes in to Yeshaya Yisrael. Yisrael running the point. Throws it to the left-hand corner for O'Berry. O'Berry guarded by Green. Back to the top for Yisrael. Yisrael now throws it to O'Berry. O'Berry tries a three over everybody and no good, but a nice rebound into the hands of Kiana Bean. Cycles it underneath the basket for Brooks. Her layup's no good. Battle for the rebound is won by O'Berry again. So ball cycles around to the left-hand corner for Brooks. Another three, in and out. She follows her own miss and then gets her shot blocked by Bree Simmons. It'll be Atlantic basketball under the basket to listeners' right. This is good, patient offensive basketball by the Sharks to start the second half. They lead 44-17. A lot of extra passes. To the top it goes, underneath the basket to Jones. Back outside O'Berry, long two on the way, it's short. Rebounded by Green, and then Green is tripped up as she tried to cross the halfway line. And the first foul, the second half will go against the Sharks. And it'll be Tristan O'Berry, her second. Only the second Shark with 2 fouls. Although 5 other Sharks have 1 foul. I mean, I guess if you're gonna foul 8 times in the first half, you might as well put 1 on everybody, so as not to get in foul trouble. Simmons controls for Pine Ridge, guarded by Yisrael out high. Turns it back to Yisrael, shovels it underhand to Roman. It was almost picked off by Yeshaya. Now Kaylee Roman walks to the left-hand shoulder, back to the top for Simmons. Simmons with a hand on her back from Yisrael. Dribbles around, continuing to just stay out high. Good defense by the Sharks, and a long three on the way, and no good from Leilani Green. Rebound picked up by Alexia Brooks. Brooks dribbles out of contain, throws it across the timeline. The extra pass finds O'Berry. O'Berry, Euro step in the lane, draws contact, and will go to the line for two as her wild left-hand layup hit the underside of the bar. And that's the third foul for Tia Binns for Pine Ridge. She's the second player with 3 fouls in the game, joining her teammate Bree Simmons. First one up and good from Tristan O'Berry. O'Berry second in scoring with 9 in the first half. And now up to 11 as she hits both free throws. And a substitution is going to be called. O'Berry comes out. Vanessa Sprata checks in. I think we're going to see a lot of players in this second half for Atlantic who don't see the floor much. Vanessa Sprata, the Isaac sisters, Bailey Cameron, a long pass in and out of the hands of Haley Edwards. It'll be Sharks to inbound in front of the Pine Ridge bench. Ball comes into Yisrael. Yisrael runs the floor unopposed, gets to the top of the key, finds space, drives the lane, has a shot batted away by Leilani Green, and then, excuse me, the referee blocked me for a bit there. Alexia Brooks hit the floor with Simmons, and it was a jump ball. Possession arrow favors the Panthers, and the ball comes into Simmons. Simmons to Edwards, who walks across the timeline, hands it to Roman. Roman gets a pick from Edwards, then hands it back. Haley, a long three, hits the top of the backboard, and that'll go out of bounds. And Coach Haley Weirs for Pine Ridge imploring her team to take better shots. As again, Edwards pulled up from a long way away. Nice right to left hand switch by Bean, hand off Brooks. Around the top it circles, back to Jones out high. Jones, left-hand corner for Bean. Now the ball goes underneath the basket. Bean drives, step back from the free throw line and banks it in. Kiana Bean picks up right where she left off in the first half, dancing around defenders and generally looking very impressive on the offensive side of the basketball. Israel stops up Simmons right on the halfway line. Now Simmons drives. As Coach Butts goes almost all the way out towards half court to display his displeasure that Bree Simmons was not called for a travel. Pine Ridge inbounds across from the scorer's table. The ball comes in to Edwards. Edwards fires it back to the logo where Simmons takes it. Simmons guarded by Yisrael. Looks to get a pick, tries to go around Yisrael. Yisrael fights it off well. Gets another pick with her right hand, to the right-hand side rather. Hands the ball to Roman. Underneath the basket it goes to Barnes, and Barnes travels before she could get a pass away. Planted 1 foot and then dragged it as she let go of the ball for a pass. Can't do that, even though Coach Weirs says you can, but referees think differently, and they're who really matter here. Lindsay St. Jean checks in for Yeshai Israel, and St. Jean will run the point. Walks across the timeline, 3:09 to play, third quarter, 48-17. The Sharks lead. Kiana Bean now, standing right on the L at the half court. Underneath the basket it goes to Brooks. Brooks gets her shot blocked. She went up for a left-hand layup, and it'll be Sharks to inbound under the basket. Nice block by Kaylee Roman. Kiana Bean to inbound. Bounce pass under the basket, and a foul is going to be called on Roman as she pushed Aliana Jones in the back before she could take the inbounds pass. That's the third on Roman. Underneath the basket it goes to Jones, and she lays it in. Aliana Jones up to 4 points now as the Sharks have passed the 50 mark for the third time in the last 4 games. Dancing at the top of the key is Bree Simmons. Simmons forced by Bean all the way back to the logo. She puts the ball on the floor. Simmons, able to gather it and play it to Leilani Green. Now Angela Barnes has it guarded by Bean. Now Jones switches on to her. Into the stomach and out of the hands of Roman, who came to help. Long pass ahead. Extra pass underneath the basket to Jones, who lays it in. And the extra pass was made expertly by Lindsay St. Jean. Almost looked like a volleyball player setting it to Jones for the easy layup. 52-17, Sharks over the Panthers. Roman works to her right and throws it right into the hands of Lindsay St. Jean, and St. Jean double dribbles for the second time in the ball game. Bailey Cameron will check back in. She replaces Alexia Brooks. As I was saying earlier, I expect, Cameron, Sprata, Filippi, the Isaacs, Kamari Brown to get some playing time here in the second half with the Sharks up big. A minute 35 left to go, third quarter, 52-17, the Sharks lead. And to my point, here comes Kylie Isaac as she replaces Aliana Jones at the center position. Jones has scored the last 4 points for the Sharks, and she heads to the bench for some well-deserved R&R. Ball is in the hands of Pine Ridge's Haley Edwards. Edwards draws a double team out high, bounce pass to get away from it to Leilani Green. Green puts the ball on the floor but finds Roman. Roman, left-hand drive, stopped by the 6'1" Kaylee Isaac, and is forced to retreat and play it back into the hands of Edwards. Edwards does another double team. A deflected pass finds Roman, but it's into the hands of Isaac, and Isaac is going to be tied up, and the possession arrow favors Atlantic. So the Sharks will inbound. Vanessa Sprata now the gunner. She bounce passes it in. Kiana Bean takes it. Under a minute to go. In fact, 35 seconds left to go in the third quarter. Bounce pass across the timeline to St. Jean. 33 seconds to go. Bailey Cameron underneath the basket. Looking for Sprata, and the pass is tapped away by Green. It'll be an inbounds pass. As the clock runs, I think we've reached running clock state. First time I've called a game this year that's been a thing. Ball floated up into the middle looking for Isaac, but it's turned over to Leilani Green. Green in transition finds Roman, puts up an 18-footer. Her shot is no good, and the rebound is knocked out of bounds by Roman, who was following her own miss, and that's the end of the third quarter. Your score after 3, Sharks 52. The Pine Ridge Panthers 17. We'll take 30 seconds and be right back. This is MJT Sports Productions' broadcast of Atlantic Sharks girls basketball. It's time you feel your best. To physically, mentally, spiritually, to be centered and supported. To feel the power of a world-class healthcare organization coming together to help you take control of your health. It's time to feel whole. Advent Health is a proud supporter of Volusia County School Athletics. Visit adventhealth.com to learn more. We head to the fourth quarter of play with the score 52-17, Atlantic Sharks over the Pine Ridge Panthers. The Panthers were held scoreless in that third quarter, while the Sharks scored 11, courtesy of 4 from Jones, 2 from O'Barry, 3 from Brooks, and 2 from Bean. Pine Ridge inbounds the ball. They attack the basket. Listeners right, wearing seafoam green, gold, and black. A long 3 on the way from Roman. It's no good. Lindsay St. Jean grabs the rebound, works away from a double team around a pick, crosses the timeline on the far line. Gets it to Vanessa Sprata, now Bailey Cameron. Cameron tries a long 2, banks it in from beyond the free throw line from dead center. First points of the game for Bailey Cameron. Roman walks across the midcourt stripe. Roman to the left, tries a left-hand drive, almost loses the handle, has to throw it back to Haley Edwards. Edwards out high, steps into an NBA range 3, misses it short. Kayla Filippi and St. Jean battle for the rebound. St. Jean comes away with it. St. Jean to the edge of the free throw line, to Cameron from the same spot she hit the previous one. Bounce pass under the basket, it hits a foot, and it's gonna be Atlantic to inbound under the basket that they attacked. To listen, it's left, it hit the foot of Leilani Green. 3 ball immediately from St. Jean off the inbounds pass is no good. Long rebound, comes all the way to center court and is grabbed by Simmons. And Simmons is fouled by Kamari Brown. That's her second. As she was trying to cross midcourt, she got tripped up. Don't think there was much intent in that from Simmons, but she tripped her. Roman, right-hand corner, now Green, hands it to Edwards, and then back to Roman out high. Underneath the basket, it comes to Binns. Her layup is no good, and it's rebounded by Filippi. Filippi runs the floor, gets to the baseline, back to the basket, hands it to Brown. Brown looks to drive through a double team. Her wild floater in the lane is no good. Didn't hit anything, and it'll be Pine Ridge to inbound. The 5 on the floor right now for Atlantic are Kamari Brown, Kyla Filippi, Lindsay St. Jean, Vanessa Sprata, and Bailey Cameron. So 4 players that don't see the floor a lot, and a recovering Lindsay St. Jean. 3 on the way, and no good from Leilani Green. Rebound again from Filippi. Filippi drives the floor, stops up when she gets to the paint, throws it back to Cameron. A 3 on the way, too strong. Man, the building would have erupted if that had gone in. Leilani Green now away for Pine Ridge. This game's starting to devolve a little bit. Nice ball movement by Pine Ridge. Open look for Roman, but her 3 is too strong from the left-hand wing. And the ball is grabbed by Vanessa Sprata. Sprata now runs the floor. Bounce pass Filippi. Had a little bit of a tough time controlling that pass, but she does get it. Across to St. Jean. St. Jean now tries a long-range 3. Front iron, no good. Offensive rebound by Vanessa Sprata, and Sprata travels before she can pass the ball back to St. Jean, who was open up top looking to try again on that 3. Into the ball game for Pine Ridge comes Angela Barnes. She replaces Tia Binns, who has 3 fouls. Pine Ridge only brought 9 players to this contest, so. And then the only player Pine Ridge has just had a player check in that is not on my roster. Number 40. And Lindsay St. Jean comes out for Atlantic. And the only player that has not seen the floor tonight for the Sharks now checks in. Kyra Isaac checks in. But now here is Simmons. Simmons guarded by Vanessa Sprata. Simmons left-hand dribble drive into a double team, ball stripped away by Kamari Brown, but they will call a jump ball. And the possession arrow favors Atlantic. Filippi runs the floor after getting the inbounds pass from Sprata. Vanessa Sprata, right-hand wing, steps into a 3, knocks it down! Sprata in on the act as well tonight. Noise in the building rises a little bit, 57-17. Pine Ridge still has not scored in the second half. Here is Simmons. Her pass to the left-hand wing is over the head of Leilani Green, and it'll be Atlantic to inbound. Filippi inbounds it to Sprata. Sprata runs the floor, crosses the timeline, 3 minutes exactly to play in the game. 57-17. Sprata steps into a long 3. It's no good, front iron. Long rebound comes to Bailey Cameron in the left-hand corner. Sprata back to Filippi. Filippi, top of the key. She drives, floater in the lane. Back iron, no good. Follows her own miss. It's off her hands and into the hands of Pine Ridge. Tia Binns credited with the board. Pine Ridge with Binns, floats it across the timeline to Edwards with 2.5 minutes to play. Edwards slows it down to the left-hand wing for Binns, and then Edwards gets it back out high. She fires a 3. It's no good, too strong. Battle for it under the basket, and it will be Pine Ridge to inbound under the basket that they attack after Kamari Brown was the last to touch it, as the ball ping-ponged around there for a second. Ball comes in, quick 3, banked in by Haley Edwards, and the Pine Ridge Panthers are on the board in the second half. 57-20. The Sharks lead the Panthers. Filippi, top of the key. Right-hand corner, a three is blocked, but right into the hands of Filippi. Behind the back pass to Cameron. Long two is good from Bailey Cameron. What a behind the back pass from Filippi to set up Cameron for the open look. 59-20. Another long three on the way, and good from Haley Edwards. My goodness. She's hit 4 threes, and all of them from at least 2 feet behind the three-point line. There was a stoppage of play. I thought there was going to be a call to timeout, but no, there's just some changes being made. Both Isaac sisters are on the floor together, Kylie and Kyra. Kylie tries a long two from straight on. It's no good, and it missed everything, so Pine Ridge will inbound. Running clock now, under a minute to go. 59-23. Pine Ridge can dribble this out if they want to, but they want points. Driving the lane, getting tripped up is Green, and will she go to the line? Well, either way, the foul will go on Kyra Isaac, who is one of the only Sharks to not have a foul tonight. Inbound under the basket is Pine Ridge. Nice rebound by Kamari Brown as she took it away from number 40. Brown runs the floor, gets stopped up with a double team. Her pass is over the head of Filippi, but Kyla runs it down, and then she gets stripped by Edwards. Edwards runs the floor, lays it up, no good. Gets her own miss. The layup is also no good. Another offensive rebound by Pine Ridge for Green, and Green gets pushed in the back by Kylie Isaac. And that's her first. The ball quickly comes in, and that's it, as we have hit running clock territory. Well, the Sharks come back with a statement win as they vanquish the quick 48-hour turnaround and the Pine Ridge Panthers, 59-23. We'll be back in just a moment to recap your stats and figures. This is MJT Sports Productions' broadcast of Atlantic Sharks basketball. Live from courtside here at the Shark Tank. The Atlantic Sharks girls basketball team goes 1-1 this week as they defeat the Pine Ridge Panthers 59-23. A very convincing performance, especially on the defensive side of the basketball. Here are your numbers. For the Pine Ridge Panthers, they really had a standout player tonight, and that was Haley Edwards. Hit 4 threes, and all of them from at least 2 feet beyond the free throw line. A couple of them banked in as well. So she had 14. Next was Bree Simmons, had 7. The only other scorer for the Panthers was Jade DaCosta, who had 2. And the very full score sheet for the Atlantic Sharks looks like this. Kiana Bean led the way with a season-high 20 points, eclipsing her last high of 14, which she had against Lake Mary in early December. The only other scorer in double figures for the Sharks was Tristan O'Berry. She had 11. Aliana Jones added 6. Alexia Brooks added 5. And then a lot of players scored who don't get on the score sheet usually tonight. Kyla Filippi had 2. Lindsay St. Jean only had 3, but she did not play a lot of minutes because she was returning from an injury. This was her first game back. Vanessa Sprada hit a 3. and Bailey Cameron had 4 points. And that is how you get your final score of 59-23. Up next is a home game for the Sharks next week against Jacksonville Bulls. They'll be here at the Shark Tank on the 9th, and that will be our next broadcast of MJT Sports Productions for Atlantic High School. Up next for the Panthers, they are home for 3 games against Seabreeze, Lake Brantley, and Orangewood Christian to finish out the month of January. So for myself, Michael Zerillo, once again your final score, 59-23, Sharks over Pine Ridge. We'll say so long from courtside here at the Shark Tank, and we will see you next time.